Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too.
Well, Girish, today's session is actually quite a special one. For all the viewers out there, Girish is the
Okay.
founder and the dean of Shari Academy. But it's more than that, of course. It's a lot more than that. Girish has been a great friend, and Girish has also been a well-wisher. He has been at each and every photographic event of Better Photography. He has been a judge on numerous occasions. I can't even count as to the number of times that Girish was a judge with Better Photography at various platforms. Girish, thank you for being with us.
My pleasure.
I believe, and I'm hoping, knowing the conversations that we normally tend to have, I'm hoping that, this is also going to be a very interesting live session for all the viewers out there. Thank you for being
Yeah,
with us, Girish.
on the contrary, looking forward to it.
So, Girish, the first question that, I tend to ask everyone, but especially in your case, because you're an educator, you have been teaching. You have Shari Academy, which is one of the most premier institutions in photography education in the country. Okay, so with education becoming now online, and with a lot of education institutions going into literally a tizzy as to what is to be done in this particular situation, how are you reacting to this lockdown? What is happening with you during this lockdown?
Well, we are trying different avenues to reach to our own student base because their education was cut short in the middle because of the pandemic. So we have started online teaching with them. Lots of subjects which we can do online, we are doing it with them. But yes, we are facing certain difficulties because there's technical difficulties versus also perception, in the sense that not everybody will have a high-end or even a good laptop. They may not be having a high-speed internet. So there is a little problem in communication because I'm saying something, but it might reach the guy after some time. And in perception, what happens is that whatever is theory, whatever is something which we can show by pictures and stuff, it is pretty nice. But when it comes to practicals, that is a time when
Right.
then you realize that, okay, there's a limitation happening in this particular media. And
Correct.
Shari per se has been a highly practical oriented school. I mean, I think more than 90% of what we teach is practical. So it is, for
Right.
us, it's a tad difficult, but we are trying to find ways. We are looking for more technology. We're looking for better ways of communicating so that the students can get what we are trying to convey, basically. But yes, this is a challenge that has been thrown to us, and we are rising to it because I think we are researching and trying every new thing in the book and out of the book. So I think it's not so bad. But having said that, um, we are already getting a lot of admission inquiries for analog that is at our place. And I was wondering because we still don't know when this lockout will be, unlocked, let's put it as that. So
Right.
one thing that I'm feeling is that our Indians are quite resilient, and I think they are not going to let anything like this be a big time stopper. So the future
Right.
game will be both. That means there will be a bit of online happening, and there will have to be analog because something that we have to show live.
Correct. Correct.
There has to be the
Right.
interaction at the time of a shoot.
Right. Right. Girish, Mukesh Barpiani just joined. He's saying hi to you. He just
Hi, Mukesh.
joined our live session.
Okay.
So this is a question that I normally ask last, but especially considering the circumstances and especially considering who you are, I need to ask you this right in the beginning of our session itself. Considering the current crisis, so if this is a crisis, what are your thoughts on the future of photography in general? Future of photography on several fronts. Let me just ask you on these specific fronts one by one, because photography obviously can be divided into several different areas. Okay, so one is the future of photography, education, which you've just mentioned, that Indians are resilient and we shall actually go hand in hand with both an analog system of education as well as an online system of education in the future. So you've answered that question. But what about the future of photography in general, especially commercial photography? How do you think that this lockdown and in the near future, let's say 1 to 2 years, how will commercial photography be affected? What are your views on that?
Well, for the companies and corporates to get back online, it's going to take time. So it's not something that's going to happen like, okay, lockdown khatam ho gaya, dhanda shuru ho gaya. I don't think that's going to happen. It's
Right.
going to take a little time. So we'll have to have a waiting game
Right.
to be played in this situation. But having said that, I think there is a scenario where international corporates and international governments are not so happy with what has happened vis-a-vis China and all. So there are going to be opportunities coming in our way, and I think our Indians are just waiting for this to
Right.
finish
That's
and go
interesting.
attack again. So that what will happen basically is that yes, there is going to be slowly upliftment of our economy, and I think that would be a positive sense. So I'm not looking at a doomsday scenario at least at this particular point of time. It'll be slow. It'll take time, but it will happen. It'll happen. But you need to be prepared because you must be understanding that the monies will be very wisely spent now. Let me put it this way. It's not going to be like just before this, people would quite okay with budgets and this. So budgets might be a tad tight, but they will be looking for specialists. Madhav. Now, what is going to happen is that anybody who says that, okay, I'm a photographer, I got a camera, this camera, that camera, that वो नहीं चलेगा. उनका portfolio has to speak volumes. If the portfolio is good, they will get a chance of working. But if the portfolio is not strong, they will have to struggle. They will have to struggle.
In fact, yesterday I was speaking with Prakash Tilokani, and he was of the opinion that it's going to be a really, really good time for
Yes.
photographers who are very seriously entrenched in the subject of photography. You know, the
Exactly.
people who are really
Exactly.
serious about it are going to get their time in the limelight, because gone is the time when, you know, frivolous kinds of photography and frivolous kinds of photographers, you know, are going to actually, you know, they are just going to be washed away.
Correct.
That was his. He was very brutally honest about that bit. You know.
True, but that's a fact. Is a fact.
Yeah.
Anybody who was just saying, "My camera hai, hey, wo hai," this is going to be quite badly affected. I'm not going to use a harsh
Right.
word like being wiped out, but they will be badly affected. But the question here is that unless and until you know your job, like you said, either he's a serious guy or he's educated himself in that. I mean, if you
Right.
see the number of free classes that's happening all over the place, and
Right.
most of them are classes related to people and things which you can get on YouTube anyway. You know,
Correct.
so I don't really see the why that thing is happening. But having said that, yeah, this is going to now open up to people who know their job, who have a fantastic portfolio, who are technically extremely sound, because the client will not have the budget for a reshoot.
Correct.
So he will want what he wants on the first shot.
Right. Right. What about the future of photography in general? As an educator, what do you think about the future of photography in general? Of course, when I say in general, I mean two sides of it. One is the hobbyist side of things, and the second is the art side of things. You know, the art side of photography. So, what would be your recommendations, or what would be your view of that side of photography in the future?
See, hobby jo hai, that will always stay, because those people who have some expendable cash or something, they will go buy equipment and stuff like that and play and shoot macro and wildlife and whatever. And so these are the people who are going to enjoy their photography. It doesn't matter for them that they're shooting on program mode or whatever, but there are some of them who will get a little bit serious and learn a bit more and do a decent job. That is not a problem there. That is going to happen forever. Should not be a problem per se. Art at this particular point of time, I do not think that any corporate or any person having gone through this particular period of lockdown is going to be in any mood to purchase a painting or a print to be put up on a wall and pay a bomb for it. I don't think so. That is the way I look at it at this particular point of time. I was one of the first people who put up as a commercial photographer. I put up an exhibition of art in 1990 at Jahangir Art Gallery. And at that time, the newspaper ripped me apart because at that time, photography was never even considered as an art form. So they ripped me apart at that time, saying, "ये commercial photography वाला बंदा art में क्या कर रहा है?" You know. So I don't think there's much of a difference in that attitude and now. It's not changed so drastically. You know what I mean? And then right now, if the choice is to think about the first thing that happens in the lockdown gets slightly opened. Is people bought 160, 180 crores worth of booze.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Where is the
Right.
priority here? Where is the priority? Grocery, medicine, food. What is your priority? Art, it will come way back, you know. So I don't think art is going to take off too soon. It might take time. Thoda pehla garam hoega, fir maybe they will start thinking about it. But they will think 10 times before putting investment there. Again,
Right.
the same thing will happen if the photographer has got a massive name. It has got a
Right.
signature will have a value. Then they will put it into it. But somebody who went and shot some nice sunset and all the things thinks that it's an art, it's not going to happen.
Right.
Instagram
Right.
and Facebook is full of that. You know what I mean?
Of sunsets. Yeah,
So I
I
don't
know.
think that will
I know.
happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Right.
As far as
right.
commercial photography is concerned, commercial, corporate, ये तो क्या है कि business को अगर forward मतलब you want to forward business, there is no choice but to market your wares. So be it
It's a business
manufacturing,
requirement.
be it services, be it whatever, it is going to be a physical requirement. I have always been telling my students, don't get into heavily into fashion and wedding. Get into corporate. You got to make money there because that's where the money is. वो standard रहता है. There are no
Right.
summer fashion and spring fashion. So बाकी का टाइम पे मंजीरा बजाने का ऐसा नहीं है. वो standard काम चलता है वहाँ पे. You know, right through. Even wedding, जब season है तब काम. Or when the season is not there, what are you gonna do? You know.
Right.
So that also is now going to get restricted. We have got a new scenario, right? That only 50 people allowed in a wedding. Now think about it. 50
Right.
people में वो अपना family को बुला है या photographer की पूरी बारात बुला है. So
Right.
the number of photographers going and it's going to be now very
Just one
tight.
or
Very tight.
two. Yeah. Right.
Very tight.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So many questions that are coming up, Girish, from whatever you just said. But I'll just stick to the track. Because a lot of viewers are, we've got to have that little bit of a drink once the school opens up because there's so much of things to chat about. But let me ask you this about your background and your history. So so a lot of students have come out of Shari Academy. A lot of students, hundreds upon hundreds of them, in fact. And so Shari Academy has been their starting point. So tell us a little bit about your starting point. Tell us about your early days with Rochester and and how you got to Rochester. Even that's an interesting story.
Mm-hmm. See, it's like this. My father was a chartered accountant in 1945-46. And his CA registration number is in 4 digits. So you can imagine there were very few chartered accountants in the country. So he came from a very different space. For him, his knowledge of art, be it photography or painting or whatever, he didn't have the concept of commercial art. उसका दिमाग में क्या होता है, painting करेगा. So when I used to tell him, listen, I'm more interested in the art side, he would never let me do it. He made me do BCom, he made me do LLB. Thinking कि कुछ नहीं तो tax practice करेगा, but मुझे हकड़े में I'm not interested in that, So I was more in, while I'm doing BCom, while I'm doing LLB, I was studying at JJ, I was studying at different schools that were offering, including XIC. I went and did a cinematographic course. I was trying to learn in those days, of course, there was no YouTube, there was no computers, there were no books. Very rarely did you find 1 or 2 magazines and you used to run and get it, and you should pay a bomb for it, basically. So learning was very little, and I still managed to. And finally, what was to happen? The daddy gave up on me. He said, "Ye artist banda dimag out." So he said, "You do what you want." So I had to stop attending. I was allowed to stop attending office, and then I used to go Kodak House. So at that time, it was at PM Road. And there I used to go and because we only know Kodak at that time, so वहाँ जाके we used to go and go through the library, whatever books they had, the technical stuff they had, the brochures and everything. I used to be studying. It became so they got so used to me that if there's any technical question somebody had to ask, they say, "अरे वो गिरीश को पूछो, उसको मालूम है, वो पढ़ता रहता है." So people started knowing me there, and their boss that time was Jamshed Modi, the president of Kodak at that time. So he asked me, "Beta, you are so good at all this stuff, photography. Why are you not taking this up seriously?" And I said, "Baba, I know technical. I know all the theory, but I don't know the practical stuff. You know, there's no school in this country for technical stuff." He said, "Why don't you go abroad? Go to Rochester. Go to this." I said, "Yeah, my pop can afford it, but he's not going to send me there because he wants me to be a CA." You know? So for me, it was tough. So he says, "Do one thing. you try to come to Photokina exhibition. That time I'll see if I can introduce you to a couple of people from Kodak, and let us see how it happens." You know, he didn't promise me big, but he said, "Tell practice. We'll see what happens." So I somehow managed to convince my dad that I have to go to that place and blah blah blah, and I accepted it. So I reached there. I have never been in my life. I had felt so cold as when I felt cold in that place because I'd never been in a cold place before. And I was shivering, and the first thing that I do is run into Kodak place, and I'm there shivering out there. And I saw Mr. Modi, and I said, "Mr. Modi, you told me to come here. Here I am. Now what?" He said, "Chal, I'll show you to some people. I'll introduce you to some people." So he introduced me to Tony Weston, who was at that time the Asia Pacific chief of Kodak. And that guy looked at me and he says, "Son, have you had a breakfast?" And I said, "Not really. I just had a coffee." He says, "First, you feed yourself. You stop shivering first, and then we will talk." You know, they were so sweet at that time, and they, of course, they fed me. And then he says, "What is your requirement?" And I said, "This is what it is, but I can't afford. You know, so what are you gonna do?" So he said, "Do one thing. Do you have American visa?" I said, "Yes, I have multiple entry American visas at that time." I was lucky. I don't know how I got it, but I got it. So he said, "Come and stay with us at Rochester." So I said, "Okay." I blindly just took off from there to United States. And they looked after me. They looked after me in the sense that they gave me free education for about 8 months,
Wow.
which was totally, what they did is they took a viva of me. They took a viva with me. And the team was some 4-5 technical people. They asked me a lot of questions. It was like about 2 hours on. And they realized that I knew everything in the book, but I had absolutely no idea how to do it in practical. So that is what they took a decision that what I needed was practical. So they put me through one department after another in their Eastman offices, headquarters, and they put me into Rochester Institute of Technology and made me go through a lot of workshops in that place. So what I learned was lighting, techniques, effects, I mean everything, including how to print and build the largest Duratrans in the world at that time, which was at the, I think, Grand Central Station, I think. So
wow.
I was part of it. There was a guy called Duke. There was a guy called Duke who was teaching me. And he was terrific. He was a tall, big American African. When I shake my hands, I could not see my friend. It was such a huge hand around my hand. A big guy, but he taught me like a little kid. He just took me through everything. They opened up everything they had as far as the library and everything. And I was there literally like a 24-hour session, just sitting there and learning from both from Rochester and from Eastman. So I got my education there. That's how it all started. So luckily, when I came back from there were very few of us who were formally trained. So for us to succeed was very quick because we were not into trial error. Jaisa product gets attacked, we go into the thing and we shoot the picture. So that was pretty nice. So
The Rochester Institute of Photography. The Rochester Institute of Photography was in Kodak's backyard. Kodak was headquartered in Rochester.
In Eastman. In Eastman, yeah, Rochester, yeah.
Right.
Rochester, yeah.
You know, I remember, from let's say about 2 decades ago, the Rochester had a very highly technical education. Was it the same at that time when you were there?
Yes, totally.
But
extremely high level of technical stuff.
extremely high level of technical education. In fact, a lot of the, I remember, one of the things that was mentioned by one of the students was as to how people would learn forensics in photography, and then move on to working with the Federal Bureau of Investigation and, all of them. They would grab the students of Rochester, from there. From that point on.
That is right.
You came back to India and you started a significant career in commercial photography at that point of time. Can you tell us about something about that? What was it back then? What was commercial photography like back then? For you,
at that time, what was happening is that there were just few of us who were specialists. Most of them were wedding turned, commercial photographers, and we were the first breed which came in with large format and the sophisticated equipments and all that kind of stuff. So it made a lot of difference at that time because we could shoot accurately the way they wanted it, And another thing that happened with me was that because I was Rochester guy, I'm not the other schools, which are more flamboyant. But this is where you have to do the Katha.
I believe you were about to mention Brooks there, weren't you?
I'm being nice to my friends, because I have a lot of photographer friends from Brooks. There was a joke, though. There was a joke in Rochester that good photographers came from Rochester and the best assistants would come from Brooks. But that's old. That's old. But so what was happening is that I came down with an equipment called front projection. This was an extremely futuristic equipment that I brought down. What was to happen is that I had an 8 feet by 8 feet screen. So I could put any subject in front of it, and I had any slide that I had, I would just project it from the front. And it is a flash projection. It's not a continuous slide projection. So this is flash, you click, So continuous, the person can move. Right. So it had to be a flash projection. So this is a very advanced technology, very advanced equipment which I brought. And because of which what happened is any slide that I had, you could make a background out of that. So that means if I have a shoot where I had to shoot Ravina Tandon, the art director had already located the space somewhere in the backwaters of Kerala and all that thing. But then the local agency guy was told to check it up and said, sir, that particular spot has become dry. Luckily, what had happened is the similar slides were available with Jagdish, so we rented it from Jagdish. We made a half a boat because it's only half a boat that was in the picture, So we had Ravina and everything. Ravina was quite tired. I think she was shooting for 2 shifts or something, and she come to this and she was looking into a studio. There's a black colored background, so we didn't know what was happening. And I put her in the boat in a sari, blah blah blah. Lit her up, shot it. And then I showed her the Polaroid and she looked at it and said, "Arey, piche background kahan se aaya?" So I had the backwaters of Kerala inside my studio. So that was one of my USPs that I brought down with. I was very good at my special effects, multiple exposures and firecrackers and whatever, making things fly in the air and stuff like that. So luckily, वो एक niche बन गया कि if nothing can be shot because of front projection, what happens? The sun is frozen there, it doesn't set. Right?
Correct.
So it's not कि इधर गया, उधर गया, set हो गया. So that was how I started, by bringing technology like this. And at that particular point of time, there was no technology like this available here. I think only one head was, I think it was Vilas Bende. But when Vilas had a look at my equipment, he said, your equipment is much better, because he used to do it with using the Senar, because there was a two-way mirror attachment for that to do. So yes, that could work, but he found my system much more easier. And he used to advise us a lot. SNA. So it was at that point it was fantastic. We used to look after each other. There was not much of cutthroat competition which we now see. But it was pretty good at that time. And I enjoyed doing all that stuff.
Sorry. For all the viewers out there, who may not know, who may not be familiar with these names, Jagdish Agarwal of the Nodia Photo Agency is from, it's from whom Girish borrowed that slide that he was talking about of the backwaters of Kerala, and Vilas who Girish is referring to is the very famous Vilas Bende, who is in India considered to be one of the foremost of advertising photographers during his time. And I remember Vilas used to be the kind of a person who was always abreast of the latest technological developments at that time. And so were you. You were also someone who loved working with technology. So who were some of the inspirations? Who inspired you in those days? Who were the people who you really looked up to?
Well, I was more into FX, so even my art which I did was FX, So in India, of course, I was looking up to Vilas himself. Of course, he was one of the, not only a good shooter himself, but he was a legend, and he never hesitated. What I loved about that guy is that whenever you had anything, you would ask him, "Sir, जरा मैं यहाँ पे फंसा हूँ, देख ऐसा try कर ले," and it would happen, In fact, very funny. If he had any interesting shoot or something which is he needs a very serious assistant around me, he'll say, "Hey, Gujju bhai, क्या कर रहा है?" बोलो कुछ नहीं कर रहा, चला आ जाएगा, So it was such a nice relationship that I had with Vilas. Then of course Mitra Bedi, at that time in India, Mitra Bedi was another legend, and he is the one. In fact, initial part जो हुआ था, the initial part where I shifted from let's put it, wanting to be a painter to a photographer. That was Bedi Saab. That was Bedi Saab.
Okay.
I did this JJ School of Art thing. One of the things they gave me was an assignment. They said, जाके handicraft shoot करना है इंडिया का. तो मैं क्या अभी handicraft कहाँ ढूंढने जाऊँ? तो तभी in Kulava there was a shop called Cottage Industries. So I just cockily entered into it, walked into that place. Yeah. So I walked into it and I talked to the manager saying that this is the assignment I've been given. What can I shoot in this place? He said, "Yeah, sure, shoot, no problem. Just do me a favor. जो भी shoot करता है उसका एक copy हमको देना." So I said, "Fair enough. That's not such a bad deal to give you one copy of this thing." So I went and I shot it. I took my time. I took about 2 days to shoot it. Selected item, shot it, and I went, gave it to the school, pass ho gaya, So went to the manager, I told him, "This is the copy of your pictures that I've shot." And he looked at it and said, "Arey, but this is very professionally shot. You've done a very good job. Why don't you shoot for us on a regular basis?" And I'm looking at him blank, kya baat kar raha hai? No idea that commercially photography, it can be a commercial thing for us, a career for us. So I asked him, "Yeah, sure. I'm a young guy, cocky chap." So I said, "Yeah, sure. Call me anytime, no problem. I'll shoot for you." And another 2-3 days, he called me, and I was again told to shoot certain ashtrays or something which some American wanted to take abroad for some corporate distribution, blah, whatever. So I shot that thing, gave it to him, and got it processed in a 1-hour lab. And next day I went and delivered it to them. And then I didn't know anything about processing, professional processing or whatever. So de diya, and the guy said he loved it. The American loved it, and the American he said, "Okay, your check is ready now." First question, check, because I'm a young kid, college-going kid, and I'm wondering. Cash is more, my style. Where's check? Of course, I had an account, so I took the check with an envelope. In those days they used to staple it. So I stapled it. So I'm little, so I opened it and looked at it. And so I looked at it, and it was about $1,200 or something like that. And I from my mouth it just came out like $1,200. And that guy was not looking at me. He didn't know that I was astonished that I'm getting $1,200. So he thought that I found 1,200 rupees less. So the accountant said, "Sir, इस बार budget नहीं था. Next time हम आपको ज़्यादा देगा. So you going to give me more? Boss, call me anytime you want." That is the first time I got an idea कि कोई photography के लिए पैसा देने को तैयार है on a that level, So the client told me, "I want professional prints." And he said, "What professional prints?" मतलब 1 hour. Then the manager said, No, यहाँ पे पीछे ताजमहल के पीछे there is a shop called Mitra Bedi Studio. They make professional prints. I went there and I got the prints made. And I didn't know that Bedi साहब खुद बैठे थे. was right there, and he was looking at the pictures, and I was looking at the picture, and I was saying, yeah, thinking. And then they were expensive prints, because compared to a 1 hour thing, those were expensive prints. So I was looking at him, and then they said, young man, how much did you charge for this? And I very proudly said, sir, I charged 1,500 rupees for this, including everything. Karke. And he says, do you know the people charge 3,000 rupees only for the assignment, and then the raw materials are different? And I looked at him and I said, boss, now you are it. You have to do it. So I, literally forced myself up onto him. But he was very kind. He took me on. He taught me a lot, including making me understand how to see details. He made me shoot one brick. When you're cocky or you're excited about things, and you say, "Humko sab aata hai, sir. Abhi humko ek assignment do, main marta hu." He looked at me, smiled. He said, "Really? Do one thing." At that time, there was some construction happening in the lab, thoda minor thing. So वो आके brick उठा के लेके आया. So I brought the brick, thinking that maybe he wants to keep it on something or maybe whatever. So he says, "ये brick ले." अंदर से एक roll cart. In those days we had rolls in the
correct, 1,000
feet rolls.
Right. 100 feet rolls.
Yeah.
Right.
So we used to just cut. So we used to cut how much we need and shoot, especially black and white now. So and he said, "He's telling me go shoot the bricks." I said, "What brick? So I just put the brick and go गोल घूमा. ये कुछ टाइम पास किया, थड़ा मार के प्रोसेस करके कॉन्टैक्ट शीट मार के दे दिया उनको. ये ले तेरा ब्रिक आ गया करके. So I gave him the brick. I gave him the contact sheet. He looked at it like this. He did it like just one glance and then put it in the dustbin. So I looked at him and I said, "Excuse me?" He said, "Yeah, go shoot again." And he did this for 3 times. And first time I did it maybe in half an hour. The next time maybe I spent 2.5, 3 hours. And after that, 5, 6 hours. Every time without looking at the thing, he'd dump it in the, in the dustbin. And the maybe 4th or 5th, maybe he looked at it. And after that, he takes his famous wax pencil, the red color wax pencil he used to have, and he started marking mistakes on it. So my black and white contact sheet became black, white, and red. The whole thing was red. So I looked at it, I looked at him and said, "I suppose you want me to shoot it again." He says, "Yeah, rectify all that." So I went, I shot that. It took me 7th roll before he accepted my result. Now imagine, I'm carrying that. The 7th roll took me about 2 weeks to shoot. And in those days, our college ka thing, we used to have jholas, if you remember. I don't know if you remember. आजकल backpack का है, उस दिन झोले का था. So I am carrying the brick in my jhola in case I find some place where I can put it and shoot it. And when your college friends look at your jhola, they feel it is heavy. The first thing they think is, इसमें खाना है, घर से लाया है. And they'll grab my jhola and they put their hand in and they take out a brick and they're looking at me, "Brick? Why are you carrying a brick?" I said, "Chhod." So that's how it is. That is how hard we taught. But then my final roll which I shot, where we shot 36 exposures, 36 different pictures. And I remember the last shot that I did was, I was on Marine Drive, and I was on the seaside on that walkway. The footpath, and the Marine Drive signal. So I slept on my stomach. I put the brick straight like that. So the brick and the Marine Drive buildings were roughly the same size. We are very close up, right? And then I waited for the cars to start as the signal happened. So I have this frozen, I have the building frozen, and the cars were moving, blurred behind it. And I was not feeling well. I was having bukhar jaisa tha. So I went and gave it to Nirka. I said, "Bhai, tu ye process karke pehle, mera tabiyat theek nahi." After something like 4-5 days, I went back, and I was just asking, "Daddy kidhar hai? Ye kidhar hai?" That Priti, he was there, and of course the family was there. So I just then I saw this picture, on Bedi Saab's board, niche right hand corner mein. And the picture was of this brick with the building frozen at the back, with the blur in the thing. And I said, "Yaar, this picture thoda mere ko jana pehchana lag raha hai." So Preeti started laughing. She said, "Idiot, ये तेरा है." मैं कहा, "ऐसे इधर क्यों लगाया? मारेगा मेरे को, नहीं, उसी ने लगाया तेरे लिए." So that was when I first felt that this is something I should be taking extremely seriously. And that is when, after that, when I started, going to Kodak and this and that, and trying to get as much as possible. So I really sponge came up to, to squeeze every
Correct.
bit of knowledge that I could get from both these guys.
Correct.
I was lucky that
Correct.
I got these two mentors.
Vilas Bende and Mr. Bedi.
So that's how. And Mr. Bedi. As for these are the Indian guys that I really fit.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So two things come to mind from whatever you've said. One is, of course, is about following having a mission and having that zest and that zeal and wanting to go ahead with that. But the other side of things is also that having somebody like Vilas Bende or like Mr. Bedi around, it sort of brings back to the attention about the history of Indian photography, which unfortunately, Girish, my belief is that a lot of things are being lost. Today, if you ask me, how many photographers, especially younger generation photographers, how many of them have even seen a Vilas Bende photo? How many of them have seen a photograph by Mr. Bedi? And there's a lot of loss that is happening in the transition from generation to generation. And I believe that one of the roles of education should be that it should reintroduce the great masters and some of the things that they have done. Some of the achievements which were great for that time, and especially for that time. And if you ask me, some of the kind of photography that happened back then with them, has never been replicated in terms of quality.
And funnily, with equipment which was substandard, I mean, we were not really having fantastic equipment like what you get today.
Exactly.
Off the shelf, you're getting the best in lighting, best of camera, whatever, True.
Which brings me to a comment. That actually came through by that lucky that we have digital. So I don't believe it has anything got to do with digital or analog. It's the photographic temperament. It's a photographic temperament. Do you have it in you to explore? If you don't have it in you to explore, then it doesn't matter if you have the best equipment in the world. It won't make a difference, right? So
absolutely. See, it makes your life easy, fair enough. But the problem is the way we were trained, because we could only know what we shot. Was it correct or not after 2 or 3 days? So we were trained that at the time of shooting, we would see that the shot is bang on target. Colors were correct, composition was correct, everything, focus, everything is bang on target. Here, what is happening is people are shooting it and then they think Photoshop mein ho jayega, But what they don't understand is that it's especially in commercial photography. Their habit is to see backlit. They see backlit, behind the camera is again backlit. From that, they put it on, if they put it on a laptop or a computer, again it's backlit. Yeah, they put it on the phones, it is backlit. So they're showing people as backlit. So it looks so lovely because it's backlit. It looks nice. But the problem starts when it goes into printing. So printing at time the colors change, this change. The client says, Baba, how is this possible? Like I'll give one very simple example. If I was shooting for garden Vareli saris. Now, in those days, even now, of course, there is a slight awareness happening. But in those days, we had a massive language problem. So what would normally happen is that the sari, if it is seen by somebody in the rural area, that person would literally tear the page of that advertisement, go to the local garden Vareli shop and show the picture saying, "Mere ko ye wala sari chahiye." So what will happen is, if that is not color correctly, the accurate shot, it will differ from the actual sari that was used.
From the actual,
and what will happen is the sale will not happen. The sale will not happen because it's not the same. The colors are different.
Right.
So today what is happening is they look because they said digital is fantastic, great. But the question is, how much of it is sellable?
Right.
Even sometimes the client is looking for a cheaper thing because there are so many of these guys who come in with cameras and stuff and think that okay, we know everything because we can see at the back and we can do it in the Photoshop and everything. And give me one example. If I'm shooting 100 images in a day, like one of the e-marketing things, if I'm shooting 100 images in a day, and how much time? See, if you charge 5,000 rupees for it, I'm just giving a random figure. Right. So if you think 5,000 men aaj din mein kamaya, but if you spend another 3, 4 days, 5 days doing digital work to clean up all the mess which you thought ke baad mein kar lenge, baad mein kar lenge, baad mein kar lenge. So actually you made how much?
Correct.
You made maybe $700 or $1,000 a day because you spent another 4 days to clean up the mess which you shot. You know what I mean? So
Correct.
I'm not saying this is the
I've seen this.
Good.
I've seen this happen very frequently. You know, with some of the top agencies, I've seen this happen very frequently with the top agencies as well.
But that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So the post-production ka jo hai chakkar, what is happening is that most of them again have not really gone and studied it in depth. They've just trial and error karke kuch na kuch karke kar liya hai. Fair enough, but that's they did have access to it or whatever. But the over dependence on backend and not in the photography is, to me, it doesn't make sense because I tell my students, when you finish the shoot, you don't want to waste your time on backend because you're not getting paid for it. See, I'm a Gujarati. I'm a Gujuba.
Correct.
Gujuba likes to be paid for the work he does. It's as simple as that. See, if I'm not being paid for backend, I'm not going to do backend.
And time is money too.
Specifically charging for it. Absolutely, time is money. Time is money.
Right.
See, what is the biggest complaint or what do you say objection or whatever you call it for wedding photographers from the customer side? What is the biggest problem from the customer side? Customer बोलता है भैया शादी होके 6 महीना हो गया तो अभी आप लाए हैं album लेके. You know, so they don't like the delay from the shoot to the delivery. The delivery is taking so much time because at the time of shooting, they went done. You know, and then out of that, they selected some and then they go processing it. It takes them time. Then designing the album, it takes a lot of time. And because of that, what happens? Now, see, if you understand the business of it, you know, what would normally happen at the time of the wedding? This दिन wedding खत्म होता है. The day the wedding is done, everybody has taken their money. The mandap wala, fool wala, the caterer, you know, band baja wala, everybody has taken their money. At the day the wedding is over, this guy is quite broke. So when you go after 6 months, he is really not interested in paying so much money. So if you left your money there, the chances are fine. 10 excuses, मेरे ये नहीं है, मेरा ये काका नहीं है, मेरा ये नहीं है, वो नहीं है. All that nonsense starts at the end of the whole thing, and then money don't come in, you know, and then you're kuch to de, you know, all that. So we put ourselves into trouble with this kind of thing. Instead, if you've done a terrific job of shooting at the time of shooting, then chances are before you leave, of course, there's a whole technique, there's a whole process that you put into place in your shooting.
Of course.
Before you leave, you leave behind one DVD or a printout saying, "कि आपका shoot खत्म, आज पैसे दे दो." You know? But they have to have the courage to do it. They have to have the knowledge and the what would you call it? Like you said, you have to be a very deep, serious photographer to put systems into place which works for you.
Correct. So basically knowledge, adherence to process, you know, and spending the time before you start shooting so that, you know, your knowledge is deep enough and concise enough so that you're spending as little time working on it, and your delivery is very, 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 very clear. Your delivery happens very quickly. So 90% of the delivery time is completely cut off. Yeah.
Absolutely. See, even at the time of our time, when we were shooting, I was shooting in the 80s, and we were shooting transparencies. Transparency was the most unforgiving medium in the market. Yeah,
absolutely.
You over or under it by 1/3, 2/3, you're dead. Your results are finished.
Correct.
Now, just think about it. We used to deliver our results. आज shoot करके next day client को delivery जाती थी. You know, so imagine how accurate we were. And in those days, there was no computer, no Photoshop, no nothing. So the time taken at a time of shoot to get an accurate shot, that is completely missing at this point of time. Completely missing.
Yeah. You know, just to give, you know, I remember, you know, I feel very nostalgic about those times because I think those times were very precise. You know, you had to be so precise in your work. Remember, so just for viewers, if this is the dynamic range, okay, with your digital sensor for transparencies, it is that much.
That's
You know,
right.
it's from here
That's right.
to that much. That's all that you have. And you make a single mistake, single error. I remember those days. Right? It was actually really, really tough. I was fortunate,
That's right.
Girish, because I was fortunate to live in both worlds. You know, very fortunate to live in the time when I
Lucky
actually
one.
shot.
Yeah, all of us. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
In fact,
yeah.
somebody asked
So
me my thoughts about bringing film back. That
yeah,
would be so
correct. Yeah,
interesting. Suddenly,
right,
it's expensive. So what
right.
happens is people will take time to shoot. They'll just go. पहला roll मारेगा, उसके बाद बहुत रोएगा. Then he'll come back and he'll start really working hard on it.
But you actually brought film back into Shadi Academy, haven't you? You've tied up with,
Absolutely, yes.
I believe, yeah. Can you tell us something about that?
Yeah, we brought Ilford back. We're bringing some of the Kodak films also back. So, in fact, we have a very nice collection of pinhole cameras. So, we are working on that. In fact, we teach our students how to make a pinhole out of their DSLR. You know, the
So,
digital
Girish,
camera.
going a little back, you know, I'm just stepping a little backward into time. So you were into commercial photography in a significant way. In fact, if I remember what we spoke about earlier, you were among the 5 or 6 photographers who were really into it in Bombay. You know,
That's
you were
right.
getting the most number of assignments. So how did education
Absolutely.
happen? How did Shari Academy happen?
Shari happened is, what happened is that I was doing very well and, like I said, extremely busy and stuff like that. Young age is a problem. Uh, our immaturity. See, what happened was I was a martial art guy, so I had a fantastic body, very healthy, and that kind of stuff. So what happened was that I kind of took my body for granted. And so what happened is that I used to shoot like industrial photography and all that kind of stuff. क्या होता था? तो सुबह निकलते थे फैक्ट्री पे जाने का, शूट करने का. We don't know what time we are eating lunch, what time we are finishing because we are inside. You don't even know को बाहर रात हो चुकी है. Till your बच्चे लोग कहते सर भूख लगा है जाना है घर पे. That till we are still shooting. Now shooting Monday to Sunday. You know, I mean every day we used to shoot like no one's business. So what used to happen is, at that particular point of time, we did not have distillery or anything, you know. So we were eating crap, and because you're young, you're healthy, you think you can put in this 15 hours, 16 hours, 18 hours a day every day. What happened is my immune system went down, and I didn't realize that. One fine day, I got up in the morning and couldn't walk. That was on July 4th, 1990. In fact, American Independence Day, I was hospitalized and I could not due to some neurological problem. At that particular point of time, though I had some of the best guys around me, I spent a bomb trying to get back, but nothing happened. Today now, they are telling me that the problem I had was something called GBS, which is Guillain-Barré syndrome. And it's a virus which affects the motor nerves and destroys the motor nerves, you know. So that is what happened with me. So now suddenly I was on a wheelchair and I could not shoot beyond my height, you know. That also, yahan se. So suddenly I was feeling a flux that now what I'm going to do. Luckily, my clients waited for me. They said, okay, fine, get well, let's see what happens. So they tried to give me stuff which is this level, but I realized, okay, shooting on remote control, that is, you know, I had good assistants, Baba and all were there, Kekashu and all were there. So they were good assistants. So I could direct them and shoot. But then I realized one thing, कि अब मेरी आँख है, उसकी नहीं है. So I realized that my name was here. It was high, right up there, you know. So I said, now if I continue doing this kind of a remote control photography, then if by any chance something goes wrong, then what will happen is that my name will come down. So I decided to chop it. So I said, no more commercial photography, at least do only things which I could do, things like that. But because of which obviously my work would suffer. And of course I was mentally zapped because there's somebody who's traveled all over the world.
I can imagine.
And suddenly I can't even go to the loo without aid, you know. I mean, if I don't have my chair or my house support system at that time, things like that. So it was a very bad state of mind. I didn't know what to do. And there's a few friends, P.C. Dubash and all those guys, they were there. They were like my Rock of Gibraltar, was right there with me. And he said, see, you studied, you're a formally trained guy. You shot for the last 7, 8 years, commercial stuff, you're up there. You have the gift of the gab. Why don't you try teaching? So I said, ठीक है, if you think there is a market for this thing, we'll try it. So that's the first time I thought of doing a workshop for 6 days. 3 days was people photography and 3 days was commercial art, that is still life and all that kind of stuff. And I started that workshop. So the first workshop I did, and I advertised whatever way we can. I think BP was one of them, or a small little chota sa ad we gave. And I got about 8 or 9 students. So I suddenly felt, okay, if I can have this many students, I'm charging about $5,000 or something like that. So that's a decent money coming in. And when this workshop happened, there were a few of them were from out of Bombay, So they came to my studio and I looked at them and they were all having a very troubled face, because maybe they thought there's so much of expense happening. Is this guy going to be really teaching us, or is he going to be BS or whatever? So I could see the strain, I could see the tension on their face. And I started the workshop. So first day workshop was, second day workshop, I could see the slight easing of the tension lines happening. Third day, I could see a smile coming on their face. Fourth day, they started smiling to each other and started to talk to each other. Fifth day, they started fooling around with each other. Sixth day, they started fooling around with me. So I felt that in this situation, if I can bring a smile from tension to smile, this was my vocation, maybe. This is what God gave me because otherwise, if I would have been on my feet, I would have been a hardcore commercial photographer. So I said, maybe I said, this is something that I should try and, maybe make my career out of this or something like that. So then accordingly, I announced the second workshop. And in second workshop, I got 2 kids. There were only 2 people. So whatever money I had made in the first workshop, I went and spent in the second workshop. And I was very uncomfortable. Suddenly, so I was not too sure. But then all my friends are saying, try karna, let's see what happens. I said, okay, fine. And I did a third workshop. And in the third workshop, I got one guy. And he was he was slightly dirty and everything, dust and cup. So I said, Bhaiya, aap kahan se aaye? So he said, I have come from Kerala. And I said, why are you so dirty? I said, he has come straight from the station and he did not have a reservation. He had been sleeping on the floor. So this guy has made this journey from back where he came from Kerala to here. And I told him, Bhaiya, you're the only one. I'm going to lose money in this because your $5,000 is not going to cover the expense that I'm going to spend on this workshop. So I'm extremely sorry, but I think I might have to let go, And he had a tear coming in his eye, and I said, what is your problem? Why are you so... So he said that he had mortgaged his mother and wife's jewelry and his small property which he had or whatever, some plot, just to rustle up the money to come and do a workshop at Mumbai with me. So at that particular point of time, I did it. I did a 1-to-1 with him for 6 days, because my heart, I couldn't take it.
Correct.
So I did the 6-day workshop with him. I ended up spending money and all that kind of stuff. And once the whole thing got done and I gave him a certificate and it was, I took a decision, boss, ye nahi karne ka. We don't want to do this anymore. And I kind of took a back seat and I was just trying to see what I could do. Chota kuch kaam aaya, ye wo. In the meantime, what happened is we started getting calls because all these photographers, all the students who came from all over, they went back and they started working very well. It was like a andheri nagare mein chaupat raha. So they were doing extremely well. So the people around said, "ये कहाँ से सीख के आया suddenly?" So we started getting calls. In those days, it was phone calls and it was postcard आता था 5 पैसे का. Yeah. So they started calling us up. So we started making a database because I was extremely skeptical कि ये नहीं जाएगा because most people that I talked to in the university they said, अरे बटन दबाने के लिए पैसा दे के सीखने का क्या जरूरत है, you know? So I said, okay, fine. So I kind of just made the database. Then what happened is that I also realized, because I was talking to people from the market, that people who are more into weddings, they will not leave the wedding season and come for a class. Yeah.
I'm very sorry to interrupt. Okay, but I had no idea. I just looked at the time. Okay, it is 6:56, which means that in a couple of minutes, the session is going to get automatically cut off because there is a 1 hour time limit. Okay, on a live session on Instagram. So what we are going to do is, my suggestion is, why don't we cut the live right here? Okay, and
so
come back immediately. Come back
sure.
immediately. So then we'll just continue with it rather than cutting it off very rudely. You know, so we'll just cut it right here.
It doesn't matter. I'll continue this because it's interesting. With others can learn from it. Yeah, sure.
No, of course. Very inspiring story. There are comments coming up saying that is very inspiring story, and they want the next session. So all the viewers, we are coming right back immediately after we stop this live. We are starting a fresh live. So we're coming right back.